Okay, we are live. Hi, how are you, Frida? How are you
I'm
doing?
very, I'm very good. As good as it gets.
As good as it gets. Okay, as good as Doraemon.
As good.
No, we'll talk about that later on. So,
If we must.
for for all our viewers here today, we have Frida Liu, an accomplished speaker, presenter, radio presenter, author, and all. I will share more about her. Just say hello to Frida, okay? So that let's give her all the likes and love, so that she knows that you are around here. Hello,
Hi.
okay. Uh, so Frida, how have you been spending your time during this RMO?
Um, Productively, as much as possible. As you know, I work in media, so I go to the studio every other week with
Okay,
the two teams in my show. So this week I'm at home, but we help
okay,
out in trying to get clips and things and all that through our
okay,
contacts. So that's the way we can help out.
okay.
There is also so there's also time in between. Then do exercise videos at home.
Do you do that?
Yeah, I do exercise
Oh,
videos at home. I have a team of people that I do exercise with as well. So we're all on using technology.
oh, Zoom, I presume.
Zoom, yes. So all kinds of things, YouTube, whatever you just now you thank God there's technology, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
trying to be careful also not to get into the watching TV thing
right,
because and then so you find other ways to be productive. Yeah.
right. So you were telling that you still do some studio events at this time, right? How
Yeah.
do you all organize this with all the lockdown and all?
So media is considered, or penyiaran is considered the services that need to go on.
Okay,
So our team, we just split into two teams. A lot of things is like done via sharing, Google Docs, that kind of thing. So a lot of that sharing, voice notes, any kind of equipment, we just have to, work together, and you try to find a rhythm to it. Like there's three at the studio, three at home, and so we take turns doing this. Actually, we did this even before the lockdown already. I think we were sort of like getting ready for
okay,
what could be. So I think
right.
we had maybe 1 or 2 weeks practice before the actual lockdown.
Oh, awesome,
Mm.
awesome. So you have people coming to your place? Oh yeah,
No,
your
no, no, no guests. All interviews are now via phone and all
okay,
that. So there are no
okay,
guests, just people who are necessary to keep the station running.
right. Okay, awesome, awesome. So things are still going on. No wonder I'm still hearing the radios going on as
Yes,
normal.
yes.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
was thinking.
it's difficult though. It is, yeah.
Okay. So for all our viewers here, we have Frida Liu in our show today. Let me just share a little bit about Frida before we go on. Frida is actually today here to share about 3 tips on what not to do during a radio interview. She has done more than 5,000 interviews, so she is an ideal person to talk about this for sure, right, Frida?
Yeah,
Okay, so
can.
so not only that, she's also, beside being a broadcast presenter, she's also an author, speaker, and also an MC. All right. She has conducted more than 5,000 interviews that include Martin Cooper, Stephen Covey, Nick Vujicic,
Wojciech.
former Wojcik, Nick Wojcik.
Wojciech.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, nobody
And
gets it right.
nobody gets it right. Okay.
Not
I'm
even
one
me.
of
You have
them.
to ask him. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, so and she also interviewed people like former GE CEO Jack Welch to WikiLeaks founder
Mm.
Julian Assange, right?
Assange. Yeah.
Assange. Okay, okay. One very interesting fact about her is she has actually authored 5 books, not
Mm.
one but 5 books. If you have any questions for her during this interview, please share. But Frida, let's just start off before we go on to the 3 tips. Can we just start off with your 5 books? Can you just share a little bit about them?
Sure. The first book I wrote was called PR Yourself, and it was in the early days of me doing the interviews. A lot of companies are not willing to come and talk. They're very shy. I think
Right.
we've come a long way since then. And,
Right.
we've got amazing stories. Companies have amazing stories that they can tell. And sometimes it's like I hear from them one time and then I don't hear from them for years. And then I catch up with them casually and then they tell me, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. I'm like, my goodness, you actually have a wonderful opportunity to continue with the story. So that was the reason I wrote the first book. Because I think we were not very good at promoting the companies and the good things that we're doing. We've got great Malaysian companies, right? That was the first book I wrote. The second book I wrote was with Chris Tan, and that book was called Shake and Spear Your Business, Romeo and Juliet. We were just playing with Romeo and Juliet because I wanted to go into a particular business at that time, and the business was I know it didn't make sense, right? But the concept was amazing. And so I went to speak to Chris, and I was like, and he asked me all these logical questions. Chris is a property lawyer and a lawyer, right? He was asking me these questions, which I know the answers to already. And then I just needed that clarification of him. And I said, sometimes I said, doing business is like falling in love. They're an idiot, and yet you still fall for the usual trap. So we decided to write this book because it was just like a female's perspective and a male's perspective. The third book I wrote was I was commissioned to write this book about this guy called Raymond Chew. He brought point of sales advertising to Malaysia. The company is now called 360 Marketing. It used to be called Post Ad. So he passed away, and the daughters, I wrote the book together with the daughters. It was launched during the 30th anniversary of the company after his passing. The fourth book I wrote was called Bursting Fixed Mindsets, and it was around female entrepreneurs because the number of female entrepreneurs just in Malaysia alone, in terms of businesses owned by women, is only 20%, right? And even with that 20%, when I spoke to the National Association of Women Entrepreneurs Malaysia, at that time when we had GST, so GST means revenues of 500,000 ringgit and above. Only members actually contribute to GST, meaning that the rest don't even have that kind of revenue. So it made me think, why is it that we don't have more female entrepreneurs that are more successful? So I interviewed 15 female entrepreneurs who I know have businesses revenues in excess of $1 million. I wanted to know what was their thinking, right? What was it that made them think differently, rather than harp on what's wrong? What did they do right? Right. The last book that I wrote is called In Your Skin, and that was the whole idea of people being comfortable in your skin. Right? We're all going to define success by our own terms. Some people are going to be successful in sports. Some people are going to be successful in comedy. Some people are going to be successful as a data scientist, right? But to appreciate that you are successful, and your definition of success should not be like anybody else's, right? And so to be comfortable in your skin and to be very clear what success means to you. So the 5 pillars.
Awesome. And which one was the one you liked the most?
It's like asking who is my favorite child. I only have one son, so he is my favorite child. They're all different. I think they all provide different things. But I guess as you get more comfortable in writing and more experience, I think the last book was more personal. I shared more of my own personal stories. I think that was so you get. I'm actually writing my 6th one. I'm taking this time to write my 6th book, and so I set a goal every day to write 1,000 words.
Wow.
So anyway, but that was, to me, I think like In Your Skin, it was more personal to me. And I like the people that I featured in the book, people from various fields. There's one girl that I should talk about, the Heidi Kwa, Refuge for the Refugees, who's doing for refugees. Joycelyn Lee, who's doing work for the Pit Stop community, doing work for the homeless. These are people who are successful because they look at success very differently, right? Well, I think they're successful in what they do.
Right. So for the benefit of everybody, are the books available outside the bookstores?
Yeah, well, you can get them on MPH, right? Or you can go to my website, which is fridaliu.com, and then if you go under books, you can click on the link and it goes to, I guess, MPH, right? So you don't have to worry too much about it. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So just take a few minutes before we go on to the main topic, right? Few people have said hi. I'll just read them
Hi.
out to you so that you can say hello to them. So there's Dr. Amina Josetta Kayani from LinkedIn. She's from Touch and Go. She
Okay.
says hello. All right.
Hi, Dr.
And
Amina.
all
Thank you
right.
for joining.
And then we have Christine Louis here, Reka, Niren, and we have Woon. Okay, and we have Eric, we have all these people, Nanda, Leon Tan. Okay, they have all just said hello, and a lot of others have put up the likes and all. They
Okay.
are very happy to have you here. Shri
Oh,
says
sweet.
hello. Yeah, you can see
Thank
them.
you. Thank you. Yes. I went to live comments. I was looking at private chat.
Okay, okay, okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So again, Anand will help to put up the comments and links afterwards, lah.
I like when almost everyone I know knows Frida. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big
I am
fan.
very
He's a
blessed
big
to know a lot of people too.
yeah.
Hi from Kuching, Eric. Okay.
All right. So Eric. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Hi, Leon.
Okay. So, okay. Now, let's go on to the main gist of today, lah, right? Uh,
Mm, mm.
just give me a second. We want to check. A lot of people have been interviewed in BFM, right? I'm sure you've
Mm.
seen many different types of entrepreneurs. Everyone's very unique, right? We have seen women, men. We have seen. I'm sure you've seen shy ones. I'm sure you've seen some who cannot stop speaking, right? So, what is your advice for those who are actually going in for interview? Here we go back to the title: three tips, three three things that you should not do during an interview.
Okay.
All
I can
right.
do more lah, but three is very
Oh, please,
catchy, right?
please, please.
I think also things you can do and things you shouldn't do, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. Oh, I think be prepared, right? When you
Right,
also go into interviews, understand how the mind works, right? We
right.
always talk about key messages, right? Three key
Yeah,
messages. People can
yeah.
just basically remember three key messages. So just be, I guess, mindful of three things you really want to say, and then come back to those points. Maybe even to end off the interview with those points so that those message are come across. I actually wrote down the kind of things that you should. A lot of times people come to for an interview, or sometimes they request an interview and they ask, "Can I have the questions to advance?" So it's not a
Right.
practice for us to give you the questions to advance. We do, however, we do, however, appreciate that. Here are my suggested questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here is my suggested angle, right? And then it's something that we can discuss, but usually we don't provide the questions in advance because it's
Right.
not the practice. We can maybe talk about discussing the angle as well. The reason why we also don't prepare the questions in advance is that a lot of times people prepare their answers in advance and then they on radio and they end up reading the answers, right?
Right.
And
Right.
you're gonna sound like you're reading, right? So it's
Mm.
gonna be so obvious that you're reading, and and when you write something, it's not natural. Like, we don't talk that way, right? So
Yes.
I'm just
Yes.
giving you from a radio, obviously from a radio perspective. So
Right.
naturally, your topic, what you want to say, and even if you were to look at it visually, right? When I talk about three key messages, think of the old days where what's the headline I want, right?
Mm.
What's the when in your conversation, what do you want the headline to be, right? So your key messages should support whatever the headline you want it to be, right?
Right.
That's so one is like, so don't ask questions, but suggest questions and angles. And it's only fair. I always do this as well. Like, for example, if I'm talking to someone from an industry perspective, and I do want figures, right? And this is for the benefit of the listeners. I do say that, could you give an idea of the size of the industry, some numbers around it, so at least they're prepared in that case, because people don't remember these numbers, right? So
Yes.
as much as possible, I just try to give them that perspective as well, so they're able to give me those figures. People like to hear that, right? I don't like to I don't know, not on my show anyway, right? It's different for different shows. Again, understand what show you're on. If you go on the Breakfast Grill, right, it's a little bit, you're going to be asked the figures, right? You're going to be asked those things because they're
Yeah.
mostly public listed companies. So you should know this at the back of your hand, right? So for my show, sometimes it's just about industry perspective. It's about how organizations are run, what sort of marketing programs you have in place. So understand also the kind of interview that you're doing. Now, as much as possible, we talk about stories, right? Using analogies, case studies. People, although they like facts, they like it supported with a story, right? It just makes more sense when you tell it like a story. People remember stories. People remember, your grandmother's stories. You remember lah. So I think those are the main tips that I would give.
Right. Okay. So, what are some of the more interesting interviews you had? This is one of the questions from our viewers today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Most interesting. You see.
Yeah.
He asking when you. I know. When you ask the question now, I don't think. Okay, here's my attitude, right? This is me. Whenever I interview someone, I come in from that perspective. This is me, of what I'm going to learn from you, right? So I always feel that somebody has something to teach me. Even talking to you, right, Dasha? Like, oh, there's this thing called StreamYard. Who knew, right? Every conversation that I have is about something new. Like when in talking to you, am I going to learn something new from you? So I wouldn't put anything as different, but I guess if it's a topic that I'm very interested in, right, of recent times, is the whole concept of design thinking, which I'm learning at the moment, right? So when I speak to someone about design thinking, it's like, wow, because it's all new information to me. So when it's information that's been around for a while already, how can you craft it? How can you make it different? How can you say that there are new insights and new studies about it? I guess that's the way, right? So I wouldn't point it down to like, is there a good interview? Of course, I've interviewed big names, right? They're interesting big names. Oddly enough, like I interviewed Jack Welch. He was one of the greatest CEOs of all time. He just passed away recently. I interviewed this guy called Ralph Baer. He invented video games. He also passed away. You'll see a pattern. Stephen Covey, and then he passed away riding his bicycle. So I don't know if it's a good thing to be interviewed by me.
Okay. Okay. So what are some of the another questions by the viewers is, what are some of the weird things that has happened during an interview?
Weird things. I think people are just nervous. I think more like people are nervous. And so the toughest one, if they give me yes, no answers. And I'm like, oh, I've had one. And I'm like, so I usually get my guests to come in when they could come in, live before COVID. I usually get my guests to come in half an hour earlier, and I try to, get them comfortable, have a conversation with them, try to connect with them as a friend, right? And this is something I learned in NLP, right? And I think you can get someone to laugh one time, everybody sort of relax. So when they get in there already, I would have gone through some of the questions with them. And then so they're sort of like remembering what I've asked them, and they're sort of rehearsed in that sense. So more that. So not really weird moments. I think more like when they have single answers and I don't know what to do with that, right? I mean, so sometimes the interview is so short, and or I will use the information that they gave me earlier and try to include that in. But I can only do so much, right? I cannot keep on saying, earlier you said this, earlier you said that, right? I can't do too many of those kind of things. So just more when the person is nervous. And I think just at one time when a person was really, really nervous and this person said yes, person said no, and I think the interview was finished in 10 minutes.
Oh no.
And that was a long interview.
That was a long interview. Okay.
How many yes and no's can you get? Anyway, yes.
I'm sure that was really tough for you.
Okay. I'm seeing this one as what? Angeline Joseph. My question is, how do you handle difficult person, diva, or any awkward situation but may have arisen during interview? Okay. Let me talk about the diva lah. The diva.
Okay.
There was this person, gender, this person who turned up late for an interview. No apologies, no nothing, and this is live interview. This is a live interview, and you are late. And to me, it's like, oh, okay. Diva, right? And the thing is like, because I didn't have that time to ask the questions prior, right? So I just went through my questions. I was like, that's it. I'm not going to give you any more airtime, right? You don't risk live radio, and so this is what I'll give back to you. So Diva in that sense, but no, that was one. The other time was awkward situation was when I had an interview with three people. One was a high flyer who organized events. Second one is a manufacturer in that industry, and third was a student in the industry, and they were talking about an event, right? So they were all arriving at different times, and I was trying to tell them, this is how I'm going to set the stage. I'm going to ask you first, and then you, and then so it got disrupted a lot of times. And the main guy, the person who's organizing the event said, "You young people don't know how to do interviews." And so I had to answer back. You meet me one-on-one, Natalia. Basically, I just said, no, don't tell me how to do my job, right? I'm trying to set the stage because you may have experience, the other two people don't have the experience. So I want to make everybody, sound good on air. So you want to know my flow so that you also understand where I'm trying to come from.
Right.
But no four-letter words were used.
Thankfully.
On air or off air. Okay.
Okay. So, another question from LinkedIn, right? So, what is how there are a lot of people who actually right now during this COVID season they have actually expressed to me. I actually want to speak live on video, okay,
Right.
maybe on Facebook or when they do their own videos. But I feel extremely shy. What is your advice that you can help to give these people who like to come out and they have some good content, but they just feel shy. What would you suggest to them?
Okay, so they're I think if they're shy, right? Now you want to do video, right? Maybe do something like this, right? You see who you can tie up with, so you're not the only one facing the camera. I think people are so when you have hi Raymond Victor, and then so I think if you're able to get two people involved and even do a little rehearsal, like we call, they say, hey, you're gonna ask me these questions, you're gonna ask me these questions. You do a bit more prep work, right? And if you're afraid of doing it alone, like I say, just do two people, do on Zoom, right? Do recording on Zoom, and then you can publish it later. You don't have to do it live, right? Not everybody's comfortable with doing live, but maybe get someone who can work alongside with you, right? Okay. This is Leon with your question. Right? How do you handle a guest who, while during interview, displays something inappropriate?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I when they make comments like this, I'm trying to think. I probably experienced this once. I'm trying to think. Okay, this was not the guest present. I think in the studio. If they do, I think I do I do correct them, right? I do correct them in a nice way. I think the last time, wow, generally our guests are quite all right. Kind of short. Somebody actually sent a WhatsApp conversation, a WhatsApp email, and said that are we of a particular is the station of a particular area? Do we only support a certain party and everything like that? And then make that comment like I said, we're pro something. And I had to say, no, we've always asked the questions. This is, I think, one thing about where I am at BFM. We've always asked the questions. How the person answers is up to them. And we always expect our listeners to be intelligent enough to make the decision. But we've always asked the questions. Whoever is in charge, we always ask the questions.
Right. So I mean, it means when they answer, it could be anyhow.
Yeah.
Right. And the audience will, be left to discern what is good and what's bad.
Yes. No, I don't think we have to be afraid to ask the questions. There are also nice ways of asking the questions, right? Which gets to the point. And if you know, I mean, you don't have to attack the person, right? To get, no, I mean, you can just state the facts, right? This has happened, this has happened, this has happened. If the person feels like it's attacked, it's because siapa yang makan chili dia yang rasa pedas. But actually, we just ask the questions, right? If you're got something to, to hide, that will come out in your answers.
Yeah, true. Okay, so we have some more questions here. Okay, Dr. Amina from LinkedIn, right? She has asked, how do you handle conversations that are very controversial and when the interviewee has very different point of view compared to yours?
Oh, okay. I think it's good when a person has a different point of view than yours, right? When always seek to listen, right? I think when you also listen to, this is a life skill, right? Are you listening to affirm something that you believe in, right? Which is you just want to hear people of the same view, right? Are you listening to defend, or are you learning to discover? Right? So this is a listening skill. So sometimes a person can have a different opinion about something, right? And again, you say controversial, they may think you're controversial. So maybe you want to ask more questions to prod a person to why they think a particular way, right? So again, I know that we hear certain things and we're like annoyed, but am I then as an interviewer listening to defend? Right? And I shouldn't, right? As a journalist,
Right.
I shouldn't. I should be learning to discover what is your point of view and try to get clarity to your point of view. I may still disagree with you at the end of the point, but I don't want to learn to defend. Then that's a debate. And if it's a debate, it's a debate, right?
Yeah.
But I'm interviewing.
Yes. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, that's a good one. And then
So to
Sunita,
listen to affirm, listen to defend, or listen to discover. You have to ask yourself that, right?
right? So it depends on what's the situation, what is the context about, right? Okay, so Sunita has a question here. Okay, how do you gauge if the interview was indeed useful and attracting and objective happened from the beginning? Do you set that? Do you set this for them?
I think you should. I think you should. An objective, he said, you would say that this is something that we want to talk about. That you do set what is it that you want to, your main message, right? You do want to say that, right? Okay, be also mindful that we have a lot of guests that come in. Their end objective is trying to sell a product, right? Then that sounds like a brochure. Okay, it's called advertisement. So you have to understand that if it's an advertisement, it's an advertisement. So when you say you have an objective and you're being interviewed, you have to interview with the idea that you're giving knowledge, as information to the audience, right? If your objective is to sell a product, then that's an interview is not the right avenue. You can call me. We do branded content as well, right? So understand what is your end goal of what you're trying to say. What's the message? You have to think of the listener out there. What is the benefit of them listening to it out there? And if you're listening, if you're trying, your end objective is to sell something. People don't like being sold to, right? If people find that you are of value, then people will come to you anyway. So you got to say what your value about, what are the issues in the industry, and if you're the subject matter expert in something, someone will come to you for the solution, right? So that's the purpose of the interview.
Right. Okay, awesome. There was another question by one of my friends. She asked on like, what do you all do branded advertisements?
Yes.
You do, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Call
So
me.
yes, we will give you we'll give them the contact afterwards.
Just connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can always do a Zoom call.
Awesome. Okay, so let's look at there are a few more questions. Sivakumar Sundaraj has said he always loves the talk show with Jeevan Sahadevan, which I also do.
Yeah. Okay.
Who has been on the show, I think, for how many years?
He's been with us for 11 years.
11 years. All right.
Yes.
Hello, Jeevan, if you're around.
Yeah. It used to be weekly. Now he comes on once a month.
Okay. All right. So let me see. There are a few more.
Incidentally, there's a very good one. I'm doing the industry called Forward Sell on Monday. He talks about 8 ways for entrepreneurs to be ready in light of COVID. What you can do during COVID. This coming month. 11
one.
a.m.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so okay, another question by Leon, right? How do you find a way to stop a guest from waffling too long and
Oh,
sucking up too much airtime? I think, okay, all right.
okay.
I'm not going to go on.
When the guest pauses for breath, come in. You stop to breathe. Okay. No. No. I think when the person sort of like ends the point, and even if you, as the person's going on and person puts pauses for a while, you can come back to a point that the person said earlier, right, which you thought was relevant, and then sort of like, all right, earlier you said this, da da da, so you can get back to a point, and then and or you can say things like, interesting, right? I just want to move on to the next topic. I just want to move on to the next question, which is about this, right? So you can do this in a polite way, right? When they just watch out when they jump in there, and but also at the same time, I guess you want to make sure that the listeners are still following, right? If a person talks on too long as well, it's not so much that if a person has something to say, but when the person talks on too long, and that you're losing listeners, and and the first sign that you're losing listeners is when you're losing the interviewer, then you better just be wary of that.
Okay, awesome. All right, so just let's see who else have given up some questions here. What topics are relevant for BFM from Woon?
Oh, what? Well, right now is okay. Right now, everything I guess that's COVID related, right? But that's also that. For my show, one of the things that we're looking at, how are people, especially businesses, right? Because on enterprise we cover a lot on SMEs, and how are they strategizing? How are they powering through the pandemic? What are some ways that they're actually flourishing during this period? I think other business owners would love to hear ways that you are surviving. Of course, we're talking a lot right now about how it's very challenging for SMEs, right? And
Right.
they employ a lot of people. So if you have ideas and you have topics on ways that, or your own business, right? How you've actually, I know it's very difficult to say we've grown unless you own Zoom, the business, but like how are ways that you are surviving in this business? How are you looking at new revenue models? How are you looking at things, channels and all that? That would be very interesting for other entrepreneurs to learn from.
Okay. Have you done any interviews with SME owners who have given some good ideas at the moment?
At the moment, it's more a case of looking. We've been covering a lot of F&B companies, right? Who
Okay.
have worked together, right? Who have
Yeah.
worked together. I think I interviewed this guy. Can't, what from StoreHub. They have actually
Okay.
started this called delivery, where all these people who did not tie up with the big boys, the big delivery companies, have
Yeah.
actually come together so that you can order your food and they actually do their own delivery, right? Because they don't have the money to tie up with the bigger delivery guys, that they have leverage on this. And then so there's a one-stop shop. You see, oh, okay, this one closest to me is selling this. So I want to support this business, and they're able to deliver to the area closest to them. I can't remember the name offhand, but
Right.
it's led by Wai Hong from StoreHub. So they've
Wow.
come, so a lot of these small F&B who traditionally didn't do delivery are now working together. So you have a directory of all these F&B companies that you can actually support.
Wow. Awesome. I think during this COVID time, we can see a lot of entrepreneurs coming up with some very creative ideas
Yeah.
to really like do well.
Mm.
Have you heard of any besides the StoreHub story? Have you heard of any other interesting things that has been going on?
Uh, that will be the major one at the moment. I think people are just trying to, more companies are choosing to sell online, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's one way. A lot of companies are choosing to sell online. And so when companies have been hesitant about going online, are not hesitant anymore. When
Right.
we talk about digital transformation, actually transformation is such a big word. There are a lot of companies, SMEs, that don't even have anything that's that's doc sharing. right? Every PC is in the office, and when they're told they've got one day, they have to go back to office and do payroll and all. So I think this actually will spur a lot of company to be very serious about making that transformation, or that, some digitization in their companies. That I think is a good thing. And you will probably see how you actually are able to work from home with some companies, right? So I think that's what you're going to see happening in the next 3 to 6 months, right? People realize that business continuity, whether it's, you start looking at your supply chain, you start looking at your vendors, not just your clients, your employees. You start to look at risk management a little bit more seriously after this.
Okay. All right. So one more question from Sunita, from Sumati, LinkedIn. Right. So she says, "Hi Frida, we had a great conversation. Frida, do you give coaching on emceeing skills?"
Okay, you LinkedIn to me lah.
Personal LinkedIn, PM tepi.
I don't really, but then it's we can have a chat. We can have a chat.
Okay, awesome. And then when, from Sunita, LinkedIn also, when would you be talking about SMEs and sustainability?
Oh, okay. Are you listening to BFM or not? We try to cover that every day at 10 o'clock, looking at ways of how companies are working together. So when you talk about sustainability, I'm not too sure what you mean in that sense, but we are, that's definitely the message that we're trying to, encourage with our entrepreneurs about how to sustain. So other areas of sustainability is, I've been personally covering some things around social enterprises, that whole sustainability message of SDGs, SDGs 13, and I find that there is a close link between social enterprises and sustainability. So that's on a personal thing, but so I'm not too sure what you're talking about in terms of sustainability. The 17 SDG goals, or the sustainability to last another month. That's sustainability.
Okay. So Sunita, you can always get back again. And okay, Woon is having a pitch here to you, direct to you right now. Okay. I'm the current president of the Association of Malaysian Optometrists. Currently, it's really challenging because the Ministry of Health classifies us as healthcare and essential, and we are trying to get the message across for our members to practice safely.
Right. Okay. So you're saying that you're worried that I'm assuming, and you can correct me later, but I'm assuming from this question is that the how do you get that message on, maybe you can do videos, right? I'm thinking that the association would have a Facebook page at least, right? Maybe you can do videos on how you can do this and just share it with the members on Facebook, right? This is the way forward, right? You can send, sometimes when you send an email or an EDM or whatever, people don't read, right? Maybe it can be something that you can do visually through a video. People are watching it right now. So maybe, how do you practice safely, right? This is, and you visually show how they can practice safely.
Okay,
I hope I answered that question.
Woon, so please do more videos.
Video, yeah.
Okay, so let's see again. So coaching on emceeing. Let's see again. Awesome. Woon said awesome. Thanks.
Welcome.
Okay. So, Frida, would you be able to just share while we're waiting for some more questions, right? We're going to finish up soon. But would you be able to share about your upcoming book? Would you like to share, or is it top secret?
Oh, it's not top secret. It's just that I'm just waiting for the I usually work with MPH, so I'm just looking at other publishers, and then not because I think, just okay. The reason why I look at other publishers is because they're different target audience, and it's probably different requirements, and I just want to learn what are the different requirements. So so every day I'm writing 1,000 day, but I want to talk about lessons I've learned in the last decades that I've been alive, right? And every decade has been a lesson, and so. And just to share that, and people, the reason why I'm writing that book is I think people also feel, we always hear you can have everything you want, da da da, and all that kind of thing, right? Well, I
Yeah.
believe you can have everything you want in life, just
Yeah.
not at the same
Okay.
time. Just not at the same
Okay.
time. And to understand that there are different life stages, and that every life stage teaches you something. And so 0 to 10, 10 to now, so the I'm doing the 10 to 20, what I learned from when I was 10 to 20, and those kind of lessons. So yeah, just around that. And yeah, so
Okay.
we'll see when it comes out. But I'm just writing it right now, just writing it, so while I have time, and I'm just doing a
Letting it
thousand
flow.
words.
Okay, a question, right? So why are you writing books?
Huh? Why am I
Why?
writing books?
Yeah.
Okay, why do I write books? Okay.
Hmm.
That we all have a message. We all have a message, and I find that this is another outlet for me. This is another outlet for me to share. I'm always asked, to speak at events and things like that, and so I want to capture that in a book. I find that there are also a lot of confused young girls, mostly, and on what they want to do in life. And so this is an idea. An idea will strike me, right? An idea will strike me, and then, like, okay, I think I want to write about it. And so it's just an outlet for me. But there's also, there are also other ways to look at it. But I always have to be authentic to myself, and just write the books that I feel uh, are relevant. And I don't think we have enough people talking from an Asian perspective, right? We always have, we always get our inspiration from Western authors and all that. We don't
Yeah.
have enough of an Asian woman perspective.
Right.
Mm.
Okay. So that's a good one. I'm looking forward to your next book. Okay. And for all the rest of the audience here, you can always check out Frida's book. You can go to her website at fridaliu.com, right, Frida?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you can see her whole profile. You can see how to get in touch with her, and also you can see about her books. There's a lot of write up about her books, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so Sumati has from LinkedIn has asked a question here. SME needs ideas on how to manage the current financial impact of COVID. Hope BFM can organize more radio talks and conferences to tackle this issue.
Okay, conferences. Yes, we're gonna do conferences the moment we can do conferences. We already got topics. Like, the moment we can do conferences, which kind of leads to Johan, Sky Johan. What opinions on the events industry, as in like conferences, expo? How soon will they kick off in full scale? I
Right,
wish
right.
I knew the answer to that. I don't know whether people are, worried. I'm hoping the second half of the year. I read, and who knows, right? I think the first half of the year is probably, you know, people are not confident to go out. People are not confident to do that. So probably the second half of the year. And I think looking at in conferences also, it looks like it has to be blended. You know what I mean? Where you have conferences that we're going to do more things that are sort of a little bit web, a little bit what. I think this will change as well. Um, Seeing what has happened, right? Maybe on a smaller scale, blended with web, that kind of thing. But probably the second half of the year. I mean, we're planning to have our events around recovery. We're going to have our events around, that sort of topic as well, in the months to come. Because we had an event planned earlier, but that of course has to move.
Even around this time?
There was one that was supposed to be in April. There's one that's supposed to be in May and July. So July probably might happen. May will already has been moved to another date. So probably second half of the year, realistically. After
Yeah.
Raya, like in Malaysia, we got Raya as well, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So Leon Tan has asked, which stage is your book at right now? And
Oh,
then,
I answered. Yeah.
yeah, he goes on to say, yeah, you have gone on and answered it already. Okay. Yesterday, I had a very interesting participant, speaker who spoke about, the after effects of COVID and leadership. Okay. Khalizan
Mm,
Khalid.
mm,
So he mentioned that life won't be the same again after
mm,
this, right? So
mm-hmm.
because a lot of people will be like very very wary. They be afraid of doing a lot of things. So what do you think on your from your point of view, Peter?
Oh, okay. Um, I think people will generally be more cautious.
Yeah,
A conversation I had with Sheila Singham from Human Equation, I mean, after
yeah,
9/11, look how
yeah,
it changed airports,
yes,
and then, of course, people came up with products at 100 ml, right? So
yeah,
that's a business opportunity there. I mean, like, I'm just very, very broad view, but I think um, I don't know what it'd be like at airports. How will they scan you for your health? Are you
right,
now not allowed to fly if you're sick, which is kind of sad if you got fever and you're not
yeah,
allowed to fly? No, right?
yeah,
So things so people will be a bit more afraid. But also there are two kinds of. The other day I had a conference. There are people who will then also say, "Look, I really want to be able to live more fully." One of the things that I discovered about myself is that I'm really glad that I've always just lived, especially in the last 10 years. I want to go on holiday. I do that until they canceled my flight, which I had 2 flights this month. I yeah, I mean I booked ages ago. So one in mid-April, one end April. Until they canceled my flight, I said, okay, yeah, it's the reality. I don't think it'll stop me, right? I'm just that sort of person, right? I mean, of course, you make sure that everything has been given the all clear. You do whatever. There's so much that you can control, right? And there's so much that you can't control. So
yes,
whatever is, use your common sense, right? And but I think things will change. So the other day I was looking at this video. You should check it out on LinkedIn Learning, right? I think it was the
right,
leader of a futurist. Have you seen that? Go and check out if you're a premium member.
right,
The LinkedIn Learning. So everybody can be a futurist, and there are five
right.
areas to look at, right? And it's just
Okay,
interesting. Actually, just sit and observe. And it's
right,
STEEP, right? To
okay,
see what will happen socially, what will people will be like socially,
right,
how will technology change, environment, economics, and politics. So if you look at what's happening in this country, politics, and you will look at what's happening, you can sort of like, how do you think people will behave? If you put into these sort of five pillars, how will people start behaving differently in these five areas? Where do you think there are opportunities? Where do you think there are? But if you're a LinkedIn, I should be be an advocate for LinkedIn. But if you are a LinkedIn premium member, go for that course. It was really, really insightful about
right,
how to be the futurist in your thinking. And I guess like if you just want to look at one area, maybe the social aspect. So what does that mean for me, right? When I look at
right,
it myself, what does it mean? When during this period, I find that okay, wow, I really need to do more things online. Am I ready as a person to do things online? Do I have
right,
all the right equipment? I don't have a mic at home. I should have a mic at home, right?
right.
So it's like, oh, this was lacking. So just very simple, even like looking at your current situation, well, what can you do right now if it happens again? And God forbid, it might.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of companies were one of the some of the discussions that we had recently in this live show is a lot of companies have been suddenly caught unprepared
Yeah.
for this event. So
Right.
sometimes they have just one month of cash flow or 2 months, 1.5 months, and so when they know that this lockdown goes on for more than half a month to 1 month, uh, people are already starting to shiver, right? Whether they can actually cope up or not, right? So it's more like how they responded fast and also the preparation for this whole thing.
Mm.
Yeah, but nobody was prepared actually, even including governments, even
Yeah.
like Western governments like US, Italy, Australia.
Mm.
I'm actually quite surprised. What do you think about the response towards this COVID situation?
Okay. JP Morgan did a study. Apparently,
Yeah,
most F&B businesses have 16 days to survive, cash flow for 16 days, right? That
really?
was that was probably done 16 days ago. So, uh, so that was one of the things I talked about. So, and there was another report done by Deloitte. Especially what are the things that you need to look getting ready, right? There's, like I said, business continuity, your relationship with your vendors, your relationship with your customers. How do things need to change moving forward, right? And if you look at yourself personally, do you have money for 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
If once you're whether you're working for someone or whether you're in business for yourself, do you have a buffer for 6 months? Those principles apply, right? And if not, that should probably be something you want to look at, in terms
Right.
of, so it's sometimes just like simple things like that. I was like, okay, fine. Do I have buffer for 6 months,
Yeah.
right?
So, yeah, I'm also quite surprised with the survey because, like, if they have money for 16 days, then isn't it, not really good financial planning?
Well, exactly, right? And so I guess moving forward is like, how do you prep in such a way that, maybe it's not, we talk about growth and profitability, right? I mean, maybe now it's not obviously for a lot of people, maybe the focus isn't growth, right? The focus is like, how do you then ensure that you're still going to be running, and then look at making sure that you have a buffer for 6 months, right? I'm just talking very simplistic. I don't run a business. I'm not in the position of an
Yeah.
F&B owner or
Yes.
employing
Yes.
people.
Yes.
I'm just saying the mindset, right?
Right.
Right. What would you see yourself being caught off guard with, right?
Right.
Mine is very simple. No mic. It's such a small problem in that sense, right? But I've been very
Right.
prudent about saving, right? And how long will that last me? I don't know. I've been very prudent about that, right? So again, you look at yourself.
Mm.
How does it concern your family? How does it concern these things? So yeah,
Yeah.
I wish I had the answer. If I had the answer, I'll be a minister or something.
Okay, talking about ministers, right? Talking about ministers, you know what I'm going to ask you next, right?
Yo, right.
Okay, so what's the latest statement by the Ministry of Women, okay, with in regards to how to keep things nice at home, right? With a
Mm,
Doraemon kind of talking
mm,
and a giggle afterwards.
mm.
What do
Okay,
you think?
okay. So it's scary, right? How something like this gets approved. Don't make me do the giggle. Don't make the giggle. It's not the character itself. It's the song, right? It's the Malay version or the song that we hear, right? That's the
Yeah.
annoying voice. Um, it, it is. How do I say this? How do I say this nicely? The whole it was the whole perspective of the home being the responsibility of the wife or the woman alone is, in my opinion, not right. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
culturally, some people may think it's right. Okay,
Right.
so the culturally, some people, so the people who came out with the posters think it was right. And
Right.
when we talk about gender equality and we talk about getting 30% of women on boards, and if you think why that's not happening, the pressure of a woman of having to work and then go back and still have the responsibility of the one cooking and doing the laundry and hanging the clothes, how do you think that will ever be achieved? So if their message is stay at home and be a great homemaker, then they're right on track.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, this one created a big it created a big uproar, and I think we can see a lot of videos going around on this one, right? Uh,
Mm.
okay,
Again,
so yeah, please, Peter.
again, okay. You see, this is again the thinking of the urban middle class of the
Yes,
Klang Band,
yeah,
right?
yes,
Now, maybe in certain circles, they don't think there's anything wrong with that.
yes, yeah. It's a good point. It's a good point. Definitely a good point. Yeah, and possibly the person who actually did the poster, they just thought this is right, isn't it?
Mm, mm,
Okay. So before we are finishing up soon. Ida, thank you so much
yeah,
for
right.
being with us. Such a lot of good insights we have of what happens behind the scene, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And also we got to know a lot about you. We always hear you in the radio in the mornings. Okay,
Mm,
a lot of good insights. Very good interviews. So today we know what's happening behind the scenes, behind you. Now, if your audience, if you have any final questions, you want to say hello, hi, and all, you can just say it right now.
Say
Frida,
bye.
yeah, yeah, Frida, before you finish, right? Before we finish the show today, do you have any last words you want to share with the audience here?
Final words.
Yeah.
Final words. Sounds like, like that's your final words.
Yeah.
Um, I was just, I'll be actually doing a sharing on with HRDF tomorrow, about
Oh,
communicating success, right? So I think if you go to HRDF, they're doing a series. It's happening at 2:30. But
okay.
I'm gonna end off with this, and I'm gonna share it tomorrow. I think now is the time also, as we reach out to our clients and our suppliers and our long lost friends and all that. Maybe just a call to say hi. How are you?
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
um, things that you never had time for, and it's not about business. You just want to know hi, how are you? And people just need to, I think like we all need that right now. Everything's sort
Yeah.
of slowed down, so make that time to just connect on a personal level, and I think that's important. All what the world needs now is love, love, love. So
Yes. Yes.
just
Yes.
hello everybody
Yes.
before we get busy again.
Yes. Exactly. Okay. So, for message from Susitra, Karan, Frida, keep up the good work. You are
Thank you.
indeed an inspiration to many and much more to me. All right, from
Oh,
Susitra, Karan.
thank
And
you.
then Eric Kong says, you miss Kuching Laksa.
Tomorrow I'm getting kucing laksa, serat laksa.
Oh, I love it too.
Ah,
Okay.
correct.
And then Sivakumar Sundaraj says, hi, Frida, keep rocking. Okay. So, again, Frida, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for being here with us. And we enjoyed having you here, I think, with all the audience. Thank you so much for asking all the questions and, keeping us company here.
Yeah,
Frida, thank you very much. Hope to see you again sometime really soon.
it's been
All the best.
fun. Namaste.
Namaste. No shake hands, yeah?
Yeah. Bye
Okay.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks. Leave.